When he went into prison, he was 19 when this happened, 20, 21 when he went into prison. He was almost immediately gang raped by 14 or 15 men.
Yeah. It was a common occurrence in Florida at that time, and there's, plenty of evidence on the record and court orders, from the federal government down demanding that Florida clean up its prison system at that time. And a big part of that was the fact that rape was a common occurrence and something that was basically unchecked. And, Mark faced, as somebody who already had problems that were social, he didn't have connections to other people, he didn't have protection from other friends, he never aligned himself with a gang, he was always a walk alone. Well, he was the perfect target for this problem of rape in prison, and he was gang raped and ultimately had to make some very tough choices to survive.
Let's go to another clip from the life and mind of Mark Defriest. This begins with Ron McAndrew, former warden of a notorious prison where Mark Defriest was held. We then hear Mark himself.
I was a warden at Florida State Prison, the worst of the worst. It's the prison that houses death row and the death chamber. And it was regarded as the hellhole of this earth. It was a place that if you just mentioned FSP to any offender anywhere in the state of Florida, you'd get his instant cooperation because nobody wanted to be sent to Florida State Prison. And that was often done as punishment to prisoners around the state. If you couldn't control them, if disciplinary measures didn't help, then you'd bag them up, put them on a bus, and send them to Florida State Prison, and they'd come back with their tail between their legs.
There's no TVs, there's no radios, there's no nothing. There's nothing but death and drama and all the bullshit that went along with it. It was a really depressing place. Solitary confinement in a prison cell, books and magazines are contraband. Do anything wrong, they put you on the consolidated security list when you don't get your 1 hour a yard per week. Not a day, a week. So you can go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years and never see the yard.
That was Mark Defriest. 10 years of requests to see the sun denied?
Yeah, Mark was placed on what he calls the consolidated security list. So he was already in solitary confinement, but he was, because of rule violations, and many times you see with folks with mental illness in prison that they're punished for their symptoms, and I think a lot of his violations relate to that. He was not even granted the 1 hour of yard per week where he could actually see the sun. And so Mark literally by the end of it was saying, I haven't seen the sun and my health is failing for lack of sun.
At one point, Mark makes this gun while he was in prison and uses it in an escape attempt. He says in the film he did not intend to shoot at the guard, but he admits he did shoot the gun at the wall to see what it would do. His lawyer, John Middleton, explains how he was treated next.
They charged him with attempted murder. He was placed in solitary confinement, lived in total darkness in a small cell, was not allowed to communicate. There were post orders, and in the post orders it states, no clothes for prisoner, no mattress or sheets, no matches, cigarettes, etc. Conversation limited to business only. Mr. Defriest was deprived of all toiletries, was deprived of toilet paper, soap, tissue, toothpaste. The water was turned off at his cell. He could not flush his toilet. He could not bathe or shower. He had to eat without utensils and in the darkness.
Abu Ghraib and everything.
That was his lawyer, John Middleton, explaining how Mark Defriest was treated. Gabriel London.
Yeah, I mean, really when you look at the conditions of confinement that Mark faced in Bay County Jail in 1981, it really flash forwards to what we've seen in places like Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib. You know, when you think about the base humiliation that they put him through and the way that they really tortured him. They maced him in his cell. You know, this idea that you can put somebody in a confined space and they won't stop yelling, you mace them, is completely ludicrous and also torturous. So anyway, that was what led Mark to plead to a life sentence.